Okay, we will go ahead and get started here. My name is Jamie Staten, and I'm the Family Engagement Specialist here at TRECA. And we have several different topics that we are going to discuss, and we have some staff members from our counseling department and our SAFE department that are going to help walk us through these topics. We are recording this session for those that were unable to attend. So we will have the recording available after this session. We will also have time for questions and answers. You can unmute yourself to ask a question, or you can put your question in the chat box, whichever you're comfortable with. So today we're going to be talking about social emotional learning, the SEL programs for students, and we have the Suite 360 for grades K through 5 and base education for grades 6 through 12, fighting the winter blues and stress management. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to our staff members right now.
Hello, my name is Amanda Varney. I'm the Student Pathways Coordinator, part of the School Counseling Department here. So we're going to talk about first social emotional learning, or SEL. It's all about helping our children develop important life skills beyond traditional academics. It's like giving them the tools to navigate the ups and downs of life successfully. Just like we teach them math and reading, SEL focuses on teaching them how to handle their emotions, building positive relationships, and making good decisions. So imagine your child is facing a challenging situation, like a disagreement with a friend. SEL equips them with the skills to understand their own feelings, empathize with others, and find a solution peacefully. It's not about academic achievement, it's about creating well-rounded, emotionally intelligent individuals who can communicate effectively, work well in teams, and cope with life challenges in a healthy way. All right, so we can go to the next slide. So here you can see our SEL standards. It's been implemented since 2019. If you want to learn more, the Ohio Department of Education has more information regarding the learning standards for K through 12. We can go to the next slide. Okay, so these are the SEL competencies that we focus on. So for example, self-awareness. We're focusing on understanding their emotions. What are their strengths, limitations, so that they can get a sense of confidence and areas of growth. Then we have self-management. So once we're able to identify those emotions, how do we handle the emotions and impulses to be able to handle them appropriately? And then social awareness. So being able to empathize and understand with others' perspectives. And then relationship skills. It's important that we're building and maintaining healthy relationships. And then lastly, we have responsible decision making. So making good choices. These skills are essential for personal growth, academic success, and future careers. All right, we can go to the next slide. I'll let the next person take over.
Hi, my name is Emily Baker. I'm the School Wellness Specialist with TRECA, and I work on our SAFE department. I'm going to go through and discuss the social emotional programs that we have available to our students currently. So if you could go to the next slide. We have, along with the programs for all of our students, we have an assessment that we have the students take. This assessment helps us gather important information so that we can find better programs or support pieces to put in place for our students. So as part of our one plan goal, we included the social emotional survey as a component to things. It's just, like I said, it helps give us feedback on how students are feeling about themselves, how they feel about school, their sense of belonging, and their sense of community. The students will take the surveys at minimum of twice a year. Usually we do it around the fall and then again in the spring, just to show growth in between both assessments given. The surveys are not required, they're optional. We encourage all students to participate, and we encourage the learning partners to also help the students in these assessments. You can go to the next slide, thank you. So we researched lots of screeners and surveys that we wanted to administer to our students. And it all came down to a few couple key components for us. One of those was being that we wanted it to connect to the SEL standards that Mrs. Varney had just went over. It was important that we were following those standards and that we were meeting what the state of Ohio had put out for us. We also wanted it to be able to be administered online. Since we are in an online environment, we wanted a program that we could put out to our students online. They could work on their own time at their own pace, and that we could pull important data and information from so that we can best serve our students. And then again, we wanted something that had lessons to go along with it. Along with the surveys that you're taking, we wanted to provide lessons or modules for them to work through based on what their survey results gave them. And then next slide. So the two screeners and programs that we have chosen are Suite 360 for grades K through 5, and then Baseline or BASE for grades 6 through 12. The reason that there are two different screeners at this time is because we couldn't find one that could meet both levels of students at the elementary level and then the higher level. So we chose two screeners for the students to work through. And go to the next slide. Suite 360 is the program that we have chosen for grades kindergarten through 5th grade. It's an all online program that allows us to provide the assessment, and then we have digitally assigned lessons that the students can work through throughout the entire school year. So the lessons are interactive and fun. They take about 15 to 20 minutes, and then they're already assigned weekly. Sometimes there'll be one lesson assigned a week, or there'll be 2 lessons assigned per week, just depending on the needs for that category. There is a beginning, middle, and end of year assessment or survey that is assigned, and that's to help monitor growth and give our staff feedback on how the students are doing and different needs that they might need. And again, we encourage our learning partners to work with the lessons with their students and to help them on the assessment or survey.
All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about BASE that focuses on 6th through 12th grade. Again, it's an online platform, very interactive. Students will be exposed to content and answer some questions, like scenario-based questions, and what they would do in those situations. When they first start, there's the baseline survey that just identifies areas of strength and growth. And then based on those results, they will get recommended modules to identify, to help improve, areas of need. And again, this is all personalized to them based off those results from the baseline survey. You may notice that it is only open baseline. It's open only Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 3:30. So if a student accesses it outside of those hours, that is just because we have it locked between, though, again, that certain time frame. And then how to find these surveys. Your students might be familiar with Clever already with other courses that they're involved in, but through Clever, once they are logged in, they can use their Brightspace username and password. They will see these 2 icons here. BASE, again, is for 6 through 12, and then Suite is for K through 5. And if you ever have any questions about the surveys, please email the email address on the screen.
Hello, it's my turn now, and I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Thank you, Amanda and Emily. My name is Ty. I am the SAFE coordinator, and if you guys aren't aware of SAFE, SAFE stands for Student Assistance and Family Engagement, and it's a program that's been around at TRECA almost from the beginning, and we are a social service component of TRECA, and there's 16 of us throughout the state, and we offer social emotional support to students and families. But I appreciate everybody coming. And if we're going too fast, if anybody's going too fast, just either ask us a question, or you can ask it or write it in the comments, and we will certainly answer. If you want us to go back and revisit anything that Amanda and Emily have talked about, we can certainly do that. So again, my name is Ty, and I've been at TRECA for over 16 years. And it's really a joy to work with students every year. And again, I appreciate you guys coming to this session with us. And social emotional learning at home is somewhat challenging. It's in schools, it's taught in schools, but in an online, it's a little tougher. And we've found ways to present it in our online schooling and curriculum. And it's important that we have it there, but it's also important for it to continue on at home. And how to support social emotional learning at home as a parent. I'm a parent of 2 children. They're both in college. And I hope that I did my due diligence as a parent. But we always worry about that as a parent. Did we prepare our children socially and emotionally when they leave the home, when they when they leave the nest, so to say? And it doesn't matter, what our children ultimately want to do. If it's go to college or go to a technical school or go to a community college or go to the military or go on just to work. Social emotional learning is going to be so important for them for the next step in their lives once they get out of school. So it's important that we have that in place in our homes. So we're just going to talk about a few things that can help. Self-care, the first thing listed is encourage your child. And of course yourself to take steps to take care of themselves by implementing a wellness practice that works for them. And I know I'll talk more about that, about, what things can be done. There's a few examples here, like walking, to go out and exercise, and drawing, to help a child that may be struggling with social emotional issues. And they can certainly take a toll on a student and a child. We know that. And so if there are stressors, it's great to find those avenues to help them, so that they can move forward and through, hopefully, the stressors that they're dealing with. And one of those things is having routines. It's easy to say a routine and actually implement a routine, but routines are extremely important, because we know as parents and we know as students and children that routines ultimately are important, because they're going to make for better study habits. They're going to make for better work habits. And again, I go back to not only when, our children are in school, how important routines are, but ultimately when they get out in the workforce or they go to college or whatever, it's so important to have routines. And routines can also be helpful to alleviate stress. If you think about a routine, I sometimes talk to parents, and in fact, I just spoke to a parent at length yesterday at one of our orientations. And, what he told me was, my daughter, she sleeps all day and is up all night. And I've tried to stop that from happening. And then he said, well, sometimes she, will listen and go to bed at night, and sometimes she won't, but, we have no routine at home. And her schooling has shown that her grades have been not very good. Her participation hasn't been very good, and it's because the routine isn't there. So again, it's all about the routine. If we have a time set where we get up in the morning, and just like in a traditional or brick and mortar school, to have that routine, what's the beauty of going to an online school is our routines can look a little bit different than they do in a traditional school. If you're not a morning person and you like to get going at 10 o'clock in the morning as opposed to 7:30 in the morning, it can be done. You can work the 10 to 4 or 5 or 6 and get your 5 hours in a day. But that routine is important. Monday through Friday, if we have that routine down, it will help with the stress levels. It'll also help ultimately with the studying, with just being able to participate with your teachers and your other students, your advisor. So all those things are important. So you really want to hone in on your daily routine for your students. Practice active listening. Active listening is, as a parent, I know can be challenging at times. And, we want to make sure that our children have trust in us and faith in us and know that we're listening. And sometimes it's very easy. And as a parent, I know it's easy to do this. It's to not let your children finish a sentence, not let your children tell you all their feelings, and to cut them off and say, okay, well, we've talked about this before, and not listen out. It's very important that we listen actively to our students. We pay attention to them. It's really something you need to show that you're listening, and avoid interrupting. I know sometimes it's very hard for me as a parent not to interrupt. And it's if you think about it, as a parent, have you a lot of times interrupted your student or your child? If you have, think about the next time you have that conversation about not interrupting and letting them finish. You can't lose trust, because if you lose trust, or if your child doesn't trust you, and telling you what they're feeling, because maybe you've cut them off or you haven't listened actively, then you're going to lose the trust. And then where are they going to go to talk about issues and problems they're having in their lives? So it's very important that they still come to you. And I can tell you, as a parent of, like I said, of college age students, they still call me when they're having issues. And I appreciate that. And it's something that we always want as a parent. And I still call my parents with problems, and they're in their 80s. So, it's important, because my parents always instilled to me that, they'll listen and any time I call them. So that's important to continue with your own children. Helping name your emotions is also important, because sometimes it's difficult as a parent to understand children's emotions, or as a child understand your own emotions. To identify them is very important. In that, when we identify what's going on in our lives, it will so much help bring those things out into the open, so that they're not internal, and we can move to the next step to develop the emotion, figure out what the next step could be. Younger children especially need lots of help to describe their emotions, and that can be done in a lot of ways. They can tell you, they can, there are surveys there. We talked about the surveys that we offer, but I don't know if anybody's seen, but there is a chart that shows all kinds of different emojis and with different faces. And it could be a smiling face, it could be a crying face, it could be an upset face or an angry face. And for a younger child, it's important that they know how to express those emotions and tell you how they feel. So things like that are important. They can point to a picture instead of talking. If they don't feel like talking, they can point to a picture and let them know how you feel. And sometimes, if a child is really upset, it's sometimes better to let them kind of calm down a bit, and then discuss the emotion, instead of when they're very angry and trying to describe that emotion. Then let them calm down and then talk about the emotion with them when they're calm and you're calm, which is really important. Engage in creativity together, and that's also important. What does that mean as far as how can you be creative with your child? Well, there are the things like you can do a new recipe and you can cook together at home. You can do an art project. Exercise is also an important thing. But it could be lots of things. Creatively, you could develop a game together. You could say, okay, here's a board game, but let's play it a little different. Let's develop a way to play this game different. Let's bring out a deck of cards and let's play these cards a little different than we know how to play them. So let's get creative in all sorts of ways. And once that child feels they can be creative with their parent and their learning partner, they really can thrive from there. And it becomes more, they trust themselves and they trust you more. and celebrate. Research shows that when you stop to recognize the good things in life, no matter how small, we can develop more resilience to the negative events. And again, it's, you know, I've worked here for a long time, like I said, and we'll have students that aren't doing any work. And when I talk to them, I said, how about just getting one assignment in today for me? And they'll do one assignment, and that's a big step. And so it's very important to you know, recognize that one good step forward, and then just work on that and work on that and work on that, so that we keep moving together to the next step. And then there's 2 assignments and 5 assignments and 10. So, and another topic is how to fight the winter blues. And we have winter coming up. We do live in Ohio, unfortunately. Or we can look at that 2 different ways. We can say we unfortunately live in Ohio, or we can say we really love to live in Ohio. I don't know how many people like the snow, but I know I don't, but that doesn't mean you don't. It really is important to embrace winter and some of the affective seasonal disorder, which is what it oftentimes is called. And what things can be done to help that? What things can be done when you find yourself or your child being affected with the winter blues, when there's no leaves on the trees, where there's no grass, or the grass isn't green anymore. You may not see the sun for a few days. You know, symptoms of that are just less attentive, withdrawal from social settings, feeling more anxious, experiencing depressive thoughts, overeating, undereating. There's so many things that you could see with that, oversleeping, undersleeping. And there are plenty of things to help with that. Sunlight, of course, but there's no sun. It does help even to light up a room, even if it's in the day and it's a dark day out. It's better to set underneath a light for at least 2 hours a day. And I'm not talking you have to set underneath a bright light, but just a lamp where you do your schoolwork. So don't do schoolwork in the dark if you're already experiencing some issues. You're already feel a little bummed about the winter. Don't set in the dark. Have a light, set under a lamp, a desk lamp, a floor lamp, whatever it may be. Activity is important. And when I say activity, I'm a runner. I run every day, and that's my stress relief. And that's sometimes a great thing for some people, but I know not everybody likes to run. Some people think running is crazy, and who wants to do that in the winter? Not very many people. I love running in the winter. That's one of my things that I do love. I love running in the snow. Even though I may not like that snow, I love running in the snow. And that's one of the things that helps with my stress levels during the winter blues, and every day, really. So getting out and being active is one thing. I'm not saying you have to run. You certainly can have anything else. You could just go out and walk. You can go out and ride your bike. I know sometimes it's hard in the winter to do that. But you know, if you just to walk around the block, if that's going to help you. And it's also important to have a good diet. We know from studies, if you stay away from, you know, real fatty and fried foods in the winter, that's also helpful. Eat a lot of vegetables and fruits, and a lighter diet sometimes instead of the fatty diet will also help with mood. And you know, it really is important to eat healthy in the winter, even as opposed almost to the summer. And it's also, you know, a time when it's more important to be out socially, to maybe spend more time, or, you know, do Google Meets with your friends and family. If the snow's out there and nobody wants to travel, do just like we're doing today. We're doing a Google Meet. Do a Google Meet with your best friend. Do a Google Meet with your family members that may live in another state. Do that on a regular basis. And that way, obviously, it just helps kind of alleviate some of those stressors and the blues that you get when you see a family member every day, or you see a family member a couple of times a week, and your best friend that you may not have seen all week or all winter. Do it through Google Meet. So that's really helpful to get out or to stay in. If you're going to stay in, to do it through Google. If you're not into exercise and you're not into the rest, do Google Meet, do a Zoom. And also, find groups, if there's any local groups where, you can get out in the winter and meet at the local Y or at a local community center and get out a couple times a week, maybe, or once a week and meet with people.
All right. So we kind of talked about we have talked about best practices with stress, but we're going to focus on what does the stress look like so that we are able to intervene or encourage your student to participate in some healthy coping skills to help manage that stress. So stress is the feeling of being overwhelmed or unable to cope with mental or emotional pressure. Stress is normal. We all experience stress. Our body produces physical and mental responses to it. So in those stress responses to help your body adjust to the new situation. So it can be positive to help keep us alert and motivated. For example, maybe before a big game, you feel that stress. That's to help you, motivated and alert. Or before big tests like ACT or end of course exam, that stress to do well can help a student feel motivated to prepare and participate in activities that are available. So again, some stress is normal. It's finding that balance between what's good stress and stress that's hurting a student's performance. So what stress looks like, it can be a mental distraction, so unable to concentrate or easily distracted, or, maybe they're feeling super warm in a room that's not typically heated, or, super cold, like shivers. As well as there's some physical symptoms, maybe fidgeting, experiencing butterflies in their stomach, an increased heart rate, or, feeling sick in their stomach. Or it might just be a mental block, unable to think effectively, or they can't remember. There's no, it can be a combination of these. Each person experiences stress differently. So it's important that they find what their symptoms of stress is so that they can help identify when it's time to start practicing some healthy coping skills. All right. So warning signs when stress is not healthy. When stress affects our performance and when stress prevents us from completing a task. At this point, then, it's important that we're practicing healthy coping skills or reaching out for support so that we can help manage that stress at a healthy level. Okay, some other additional healthy coping skills to help manage that stress level before it becomes to a point where it's hurting our performance. Positive self-talk. So instead of you might hear a child say, I've never done this before, I don't know how to do it. Instead, maybe we encourage that child to change their language, just to change it to, it's a chance to learn, I can learn. If a student has learned how to ride a bike or another activity, they have that same capability to learn that new skill that we're asking in that course, or maybe something else they're doing in their community. So again, encouraging that self-positive talk from I can't do this to I can do this. Self-care. As Ty mentioned, practicing those good routines, getting a good night's sleep, eating healthy, again, having those sense of routines, which we get lost in an online setting. So it's really important that we're encouraging, even at home, or having some type of routine each day. And then talking to others, again, having that open communication that a child knows that if something is going on, that they can either go to you or another trusted adult if you're not available, to just talk so they know that they're not alone in dealing with what they're dealing with. And then if we see a child, they're focusing on a task, maybe that's getting them frustrated, that they can take a step back and regroup. And no, for me personally, sometimes I can't think of I can't find my keys. I'll take a break and then it'll come back to me where they are. So again, taking that step back to clear your mind, just encouraging that. There's also some great resources online. You might have heard of Calm or Insight Timer. These are all great programs that are free, available. For example, if a student is feeling a sense of anxiety, maybe listening to some calming sounds that these apps provide, or before bed, listening to some of the sleep programs that they have to help reduce any stress levels. So please take advantage of any of these free resources as well. All right.
Next, we're going to talk about some of the resources that we have here at TRECA for our families. The first resource that we have available is called Care Solace. So this is a program that is free to all of our students and our families. They can submit a referral in here. It's called a warm handoff. And then the Care Solace staff help access and research counseling resources in your guys' area, or they can do it online or remotely if you guys would prefer like a telehealth option. They do all of that first contact and that communication with you, and they'll keep in contact with you throughout the process. So if you want to go to the next slide, I think it explains it more there. Yeah, so you'll fill out a brief screening first, where you'll answer a few questions about what you're looking for, so that you can give the Care Solace staff the best information so they can start working for you. And then they will call around to different agencies and find somebody that has availability. We know that counseling is hard to get into and can be hard to get into at times. There's waitlist places. So it's great to have the option to refer to Care Solace because they have staff calling tons of different places for you, whereas you might be able to only reach out to one or two at a time. And then from there, they actually schedule your first appointment for you as well. They will get that scheduled, get all the details sent over to you, and then you'll go to that appointment and continue on from there. But they're wonderful in keeping communication with you and making sure that you're kept up to date throughout the entire process. If this is something that you are interested in, you can access this through the main office. There's a section underneath the mental health and wellness section that explains Care Solace. I want to go to the next slide. Something else that you guys have access to if you want to go to the Center for Public Health Practice. They've developed a mental health resource guide. So they have different resources put together in all of the 88 counties in Ohio. So you can click on your county that you live in, and it'll pull up various different resources in there, not just strictly related to counseling. There's all sorts of other resources that could be supportive to you guys as well. And the next slide discusses our mental health and wellness resource class we have. This is available to you in Brightspace. It's just a bunch of different resources, as you can see on the side there. There's anger management, coping skills, anxiety, depression. There's just different resources underneath each tab that you guys can access at your own time. It's self-paced. There's no work to be completed in there. It's just something that you have available to you. If you don't feel like seeking counseling is a step at this time, then you can explore this on your own and find hopefully some helpful resources in there that can help you during the time being. And then, as Ty mentioned earlier, we have a whole SAFE team available to help you. There's all of us throughout the state of Ohio. We have someone for you in every county. So whether, whatever it is you're struggling with, if it's social emotional or there's, barriers preventing you from completing your education, don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can email us at safe@treca.org, and someone will be able to get back to you to help connect you if we need to connect you to someplace, or just be there to talk to if you are struggling right now. So just know that, there is someone here to help support you.